Hello, I'm just waiting for a few people to go live because this was not something that was advertised previously. Um, Something I was actually putting for my members on a Skype chat meeting, but I wanted to make it a bit more public for today. So if anyone can join in, and we'll see, because basically what I've got today to talk about is an exciting new idea for an assessment. So I'm just going to share this live stream with a few people. Terence Morgan might be joining in. Um, Let me just share this to a few more people. Excuse the slow start because we're just getting people to join in. But yeah, live stream. There we are. I send it to my members as well. Right, now the idea is I am going to start here. If you're joining in this video later, feel free to go back to the beginning later on. Now, there is a link in the description, but I'll also put the link in the chat referring to a document about a new idea for an assessment. The reason I've come up with this idea is because of the ABRSM assessment ideas. I've gone a little bit off the boil, in my opinion. I don't know what other people think. I'm just typing someone a message. Okay, there we go. Let me go back to the live stream. Here is the link I'm sending in the chat now for anyone else to have a little look at this document. It's on my website, and it's called An Exciting New Assessment Idea Consultation. Okay, so from the beginning of this idea, with the ABRSM moving further and further into digital exams, and in the opinion of many, watering down the gold standard it used to be famous for, here at MusicOnline UK, we're going to consult the possibility of offering a musicianship assessment from sometime early this year, which would not only involve a live, albeit over video link exam, which is a little bit different to the ABRSM's pre-recorded 4 pieces on a video, because it will be actually live, okay? And it won't just be the 4 pieces, but it will also incorporate other aspects of musicianship that are gradually losing their importance in the ABRSM syllabus. I mean, people don't seem to like oral, so they opted for the 4 pieces video. Don't have to do oral, don't have to do sight reading, don't have to do any scales or technical exam. And again, theory is neglected after grade 5, and it's just something that people just don't bother with unless they have to do it. All right. Now, furthermore, to encourage the study of a piece in greater depth, the idea of this assessment is to link all those things like sight reading, like listening, like technical skills to the actual pieces you're playing, rather than just some random detached assessment that's got nothing to do with what you're playing. So let's see. Do we have any questions so far? Anyone else in participation? Not as such. So the live stream is just me talking for the moment. So I'll carry on talking and you can come in later. But if you do have any questions live as I'm talking and you do join in, please do put something in the chat history and then we'll try and come back to your questions. Okay. So now, how will this assessment work? Well, first of all, the main aspect is going to be the 3 pieces, all right? It's going to be like the gold standard that you've always used to be. And the same in any exam board is often being 3 pieces. But these 3 pieces can be from any exam board for the selected grade. So anything for grade 8 from Trinity, ABRSM or whatever, okay? And from any year. But they must include at least one faster technical type of piece and one slower expressive piece, and the third could be something of your own choice. And they should also reflect a range of periods, so no pieces from the same century, no 2 pieces from the same century, okay? And then the next idea of the assessment would be technical skills, such as scales and arpeggios, but they will be based on the key signatures of the pieces chosen above. So for example, if you did a piece in G major, you might be asked to play scales of G major. And depending on what grade that is, that could be just separate hands in grade 1 up to scales in 6th or something in grade 8, okay? Then there would be some theory knowledge, again, based on the pieces that you have chosen. So maybe asking you what some of the terms and signs mean, or if it's something very simple, what's the time signature for lower grades, or identifying chords and inversions in the higher grades, something like this. Then there would be listening skills based on the examiner playing extracts of the pieces. Again, these will be in increasing variations of difficulty. So, for example, now one thing that's going to be wiped out is the singing back, because that's the one thing that no one seems to be happy with, unless you're a singer. All right, the oral tests that in the ABRSM exams do not, always include singing tests. Notably in Trinity, there is no singing, but there is something slightly different, recognizing changes. And I think that's a much better way of assessing someone's oral ability if they can hear something that's different. So that's going to come into the early grades quite a lot. There'll be a mixture of some of the things from the ABRSM oral skills, such as modulations and cadences and chords and things like that. But singing will be out. And then my final section, and this is one of my favorites, reading skills. Now, everyone that I've ever come across, their weakest point is always sight reading. Almost every single person. Maybe there's one or two very small exceptions. But sad to say that many students play their exam pieces from memory. They don't even look at the page anymore. All right. And part of the reason for this is that many students have poor piano geography. Now, in this reading skills sections, the examiner, get rid of that. In this section, the examiner will ask the student to play a short extract from anywhere in the piece. Now, that's an important thing. A lot of students can't play from anywhere in the piece. They have to start at the beginning, or start at the beginning of a section to start with. But to play from anywhere within the piece without looking at their hands. Now, there's an important thing. Without looking at your hands. Okay? Piano geography is feeling your way around the notes without looking down. And it's a skill that will improve sight reading 1,000,000% if you can just master it. So this is going to be part of the assessment right from grade 1. In grade 1, it'll just be a 4-bar extract, one hand only, maybe in one hand position without having to move, but you've got to feel where the notes are. And you will lose marks if you look at your hands. And you'll develop the skill of piano geography to a point where you can play things with jumping around and all sorts. There are many very talented, completely blind pianists who have got perfect piano geography. Now, I'm not saying their sight reading is brilliant because they can't see anything, but they've got piano geography. And piano geography is the secret to good sight reading. I promise you, it always works. It's almost counterintuitive, but the less you look at your hands, the better you play. Okay, now, right, we have one comment, Jackie Brown saying piano's geography sounds good. Okay, so these assessments will be in place of, but not in place, as an accompaniment to ABRSM exams. For example, they are only assessments. They are not, what's the word for it? Accredited exams, in the sense of, like you get UCAS points if you're in Britain going to university or anything like this. But a lot of people find now the cost of ABRSMs is extortionate, really it is. All right. Grade 1 now starts at £50, £51 for a face-to-face exam. Okay. And it goes up to £119 for grade 8. And to me, I mean, a grade 8 exam is less than an hour if you're actually in the room, 40 minutes. So that's a very high rate. And the examiner has written most of his scoring. Okay, it has to be, how can I say, double checked and a certificate printed and something online posted, but that is not worth all that money, apart from the fact that you get accredited UCAS points. Now, a lot of people that I have taught want to get their final exam, the right, proper big exam with the UCAS points and the accreditation and everything, or maybe a grade 5 or a couple of exams on the way, but they skip a lot of exams in the middle. Two advantages of doing these assessments, which I promise will always be less than half the price of any grade 8 exam, and they actually include more assessment of your musical skills than the exams actually provide at the moment. The advantage is just to know where you are, to have something to work towards, but without paying an extortionate amount of money. Okay, and it should be something that works for a lot of students. So you could do like grade 1, then do an assessment for grades 2, 3, and 4, do a grade 5 for real, and assessments of grades 6 and 7, and then a grade 8 for real, as one possible example. Yeah. So that's something that I'm offering as an assessment. Now you can look at the full syllabus that I'm offering in the top note there, the web page in the top of the chat there, and have a little look through some of that. So, for example, let's go through some of the scales section. All right. Now, in the scales section, let's scroll back through the top of this web page. It's quite a long document at the moment, and this is a consultation. So please, in the comments below, if you don't get a chance to join into the chat right now, you can always add comments below the chat after the live stream is finished. The fact of the live stream is for people to have a ongoing debate or discussion right absolutely now. Now let's go to the pieces. All right. Pieces will be marked very similarly to the ABRSM, but in a bit more of a transparent way. Okay, so they're basically going to be 5 categories, not the 5 categories in the ABRSM, worth 4 points each. The first category is going to be accurate in your pitch. The second category is going to be accurate timing. That includes rhythm and the pulse, and also using like rubato in more sort of romantic music in the higher grades and things like this. Right. Third category will be observation of details like articulation and dynamic, or if there are none listed, like in Baroque music, sometimes adding your own in a stylistic way. All right. And sometimes in the ABRSM music, it does say dynamics are left to the performer's discretion. All right. And if you don't do anything, you lose marks. So sometimes you will need to add dynamics where there are none written. Then the fourth section is to control your tone. A lot of people are not quite understanding what that means, but tone is often to do with the balance of the hands, and if you're playing a melody with an accompaniment, not to have the accompaniment overpowering the melody, for example, right? Balancing the two. And the fifth section will be a sense of performance, including a confident presentation. Do you feel at home with your audience, or are you like timid and shy? And it all comes out in your expression, all right, and your involvement with the music. And each of those sections we've marked 4 points down to 1 point, from completely accurate to frequent errors. Okay. Now, the next section will be technical skills. Similar to the scales that you have in the ABRSM or Trinity, but they are going to be based on the key signatures of the pieces you have chosen. So 5 items will be asked for each grade, and you get a couple of marks for each. In grade 1, just be your 1-octave scale, major scale, hands together, and a 2-octave major scale, hands separately. A 2-octave harmonic minor scale, hands separately. Now these key signatures, so say for example it was a G major, it could also be an E minor, so it could be the melodic, the enharmonic version of the major, and then a 1-octave hand separate arpeggio and a 1-octave separate minor arpeggio, right? In grade 2, now I'm not going to go through everything, but I'll just go through the things that are changed. So the hands together scale turns to 2 octaves. You'll be adding an octave of a contramotion scale, a 1-octave separate hand chromatic scale, starting on the key note, whichever your keys are going to be. The arpeggios are also going to go hands together. In grade 3, the contramotion becomes 2 octaves, as does the chromatic scale, as do the arpeggios. In grade 4, you're going to be adding a 2-octave hand separate staccato scale. Okay. And in grade 5, the staccato scales become the hands together ones, and that's just standard then. In grade 6, everything goes to 4 octaves, and it's going to include melodic minors. 4-octave arpeggios, 4-octave hands together. Now, also going to be added in grade 6, a dominant seventh or a diminished seventh, starting on the key notes of the or the chosen key signature if it's a dominant seventh. Okay. In grade 7, we're going to start introducing scales in thirds, contrary motion chromatics, first inversion arpeggios. And in grade 6, the scales will go into sixths. You'll have some legato scales in thirds, just one hand at a time. So like a C major, starting on a C and an E in just one hand, and then just moving up in thirds. And that sort of idea. And then whole tone scales, second inversion arpeggios. And that's the 8 grades. Now, let me just see if there are any comments so far. Anyone sort of got anything to ask or question? I mean, we're a bit low on the comments here. If you've got anything you want to check or ask about these grades, do feel put it in there's a chat section under the live stream. Or after the video, you can actually put it into the comment section of the video. Okay, moving on now. Theory knowledge. Right, now, ABRSM theory effectively stops for most students at grade 5. And I think that's a shame, all right? But this assessment will ensure that theory knowledge remains a consideration throughout your journey, all the way to grade 8. Based on the pieces chosen, the examiner will ask 5 items in each grade, right? So 2 marks awarded for each item. And you get full marks for a confident answer, 1 mark if you need a little bit of prompting, and nothing if you really don't know the answers. Okay, so in grade 1, terms and signs. Always, you know, there's no point asking random terms and signs if you don't know the terms and signs in the pieces you're actually playing. All right. Second item, key signatures in the piece, but it'll be limited up to 1 sharp or flat. Third item, time signatures used in the piece, limited to simple time signatures. So if there's a compound time in grade 1, it won't be asked. Fourth item, names of note lengths, so like minims and crotchets, or in the American version, whole notes, half notes, quarter notes. All right, but it'll be limited to semi-brief, minim, crotchet, and quavers, and the dotted versions of the same. And then the fifth item is just note pitches. So, you know, the note A. Okay. Right, now in grade 2, the new things, the key signatures will go up to 2 sharps. The time signatures will also include minim or quaver beats. And the note lengths will include semiquavers and triplets if involved. And then a new item completely will be intervals between notes. Well, the only numeric, so we're not going to have to say minor third or major third, just third. Okay. In grade 3, the theory knowledge, key signatures will go up to 3 sharps or flats. Time signatures may include compound times. Note lengths may include demi-semiquavers. And the intervals will include labels major, minor, or perfect, not augmented or diminished yet. Right, do we have any questions yet? No. Still just have the one question. Okay, and in grade 4, the key signatures used in the piece will be limited up to 4 sharps. Time signatures will include compound again, but note lengths can include double dotted notes and duplets, and the intervals will include the labels augmented and diminished. In grade 5, we'll go up to 5 sharps and then include technical names for the degrees of the scale, like tonic, dominant, subdominant, that sort of thing. Naming of ornaments and naming of chords, limited to just the primary triads like 1, 4, and 5, all right? In root position. In grade 6, we go up to 6 sharps or flats. Questions might be asked on irregular time signatures like 5/4 time, and irregular note groupings like quintuplets. Intervals greater than an octave might be tested, so like major tenths, and identifying cadences. Now, this grade just limited to perfect or imperfect. In grade 7, just by looking at the piece or knowing the piece that you've already learned, questions might be asked about the texture. Is it polyphonic or homophonic? The naming of chords will include dominant sevenths. Modulations might need to be identified, and the cadences will also now include interrupted. In grade 8, questions might be asked on the structure of a piece, ternary form, binary form. The naming of chords can include any chord in any inversion. And a little question that's not involved in the ABRSM at all is identifying of accented and unaccented passing notes. All right, so that's something you might want to check out, or you can go through with your teacher. And then the cadences will now include plagal cadences. Okay, right, now let's go back to the oral, something I mentioned right at the beginning of this live stream. Still no questions about the theory knowledge, so that's fine. In grade 1, I think I mentioned this, you will have to identify by listening. Now, you will not be able to see the pieces at the beginning, all right, because you need to know the pieces. Although if you know them and memorize them, this is sort of can also be memorized really before the exam. But to listen to a certain extract, doesn't have to be the whole piece, and identify the time signature, to identify the dynamics used, to identify the articulation, staccato, legato. And then there'll be 2 deliberate changes in pitch and rhythm, and the student will be allowed to see the original at that point. Okay? In grade 2, changes in tempo will be added. So identifying changes in tempo. This is very similar to the grades of ABRSM, but does not include singing. It includes deliberate changes that to be identified. Grade 3, changes to tonality, or identifying tonality like major and minor will be part of the questions. In grade 4, liking an ABRSM, describing the character of the piece based on the factors above, like articulation, dynamics, tempo, or tonality. In grade 5, identifying the period of music with reasons, so like classical, romantic, baroque, and saying why. Okay. In grade 6, identifying a cadence will be added as perfect or imperfect in any of the previous questions. Okay, and in grade 7, discuss the structure of the music. This is a little bit like the theory, but it'll be done on listening rather than reading the book. So ternary, binary, that sort of thing. The identifying the cadence will also include an interrupted cadence possibly, and also stating the 2 chords that make that cadence. But for this grade, it'll be in root position, those chords. And then this is an interesting one. All right, in grade 8, this grade will be different in that the student will be given free rein to discuss anything of interest heard, using the 5 topics from previous grades, but without questions from the examiner. So it's like, just waffle. Well, don't waffle. Care should be taken to be concise and not to waffle, because 1,000 words without content won't score any points at all. Okay. But if you can name 5 things that you heard, so can you name a cadence you heard? You could name the structure, the texture. You could talk about the dynamics, anything. 5 points gets you the full marks. And then finally, we've talked already at the beginning, but I'll just reiterate a little bit now about the reading skills. It's going to be based on playing a small extract from anywhere in the piece without looking at your hands. Okay, now in grade 1, it'll just be 4 bars of one hand. In grade 2, it'll be 4 bars of hands together. In grades 3 and 4, both exactly the same, but it'll just be an 8-bar extract of the piece, hands together, without looking down. Now, here's something interesting, which we haven't done ever in ABRSM, but I think it's a good skill. Transposing a tone up or down. Well, actually, in grade 5, it'll just be a tone higher. A 4-bar extract of one hand only, transposed to a key 1 tone higher. So let's just pick a grade 5 piece in the current syllabus. Just a random 4-bar extract. Let's just take, for example, the very first piece in the first page. Okay, now it says it's in C minor. And you have to put that into D minor. So in your head, just play a tone higher. Okay? And it's not as difficult as it looks. You don't have to work out every single note. You just have to get into the new key. So this is the secret of transposing original C minor, upper tone, D minor. It's testing your theory knowledge a little bit as well. And if you just stay in D minor, the notes should pop out quite easily. In grade 6, that's going to be hands together, and it could be a tone lower, not just higher. In grade 7, 8 bars, but the same idea. And then in grade 8, it could be up to a tone higher or a minor third, higher or lower. Okay, so unless there are any questions about all that new syllabus and the ideas for it, that is basically my ideas for a new exciting assessment program, which will be a much cheaper way of seeing where you're at, testing your whole musicianship, but without those excuse me, the boring parts like singing. We don't want to do any of those. It tests your theory, it tests your reading abilities, proper reading abilities, it tests your technical skills related to the piece you're actually playing, and all of that for half the price of an ABRSM exam. And then you could just take odd individual like 1, 5, and 8 or something ABRSM exams just to get your accreditation and all you need for universities and things like this. Any comments, leave them below, and we'll leave it there for the live stream. Thanks for listening. Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye.